People have come from all over Tennessee to talk to our neighbors, to talk to the other folks from Tennessee, to talk to our representatives most of all. We've got a few words we'd like to share with them. And I've got people up here who've got plenty to say. I hope you take messages and some education away from today, take it back to your hometowns, share with your neighbors, share with your friends, share with your families. We've got a lot of work to do to turn our state around. Before I introduce our speakers, I've got a few words. So, as Ijeoma Oluo said, when we identify where our privilege intersects with others' oppression, we'll find opportunities to make real change. That's what we've done here today. Those of us who are privileged enough to be able to take off work or to travel to Nashville have come today to start to make change in our state. It's why we're going to continue to come back again and again and again until things are better. Too many elected officials in that building behind me have forgotten their responsibilities to their constituents. Too many have chosen to use faith as a weapon, holding up only those who look like them, who pray like them, who think like them, and who love like them, while they ignore the damage they do to other people who are other than they are. This is again why each of us is going to return again and again and again until they remember that they're here to work for the benefit of all Tennesseans. We believe that no human being should be punished for having a mental illness or for being unhoused. No one should suffer because they don't have the same economic opportunities as those people in the building behind me. No one should be stripped of their rights or dehumanized because of the color of their skin, because of who they love, or because they're seeking asylum from violence. So we're here together today to remind those who we've elected that they have a responsibility to all of us to represent us ethically and morally, regardless of any differences between us. We come here to remind them of those ethical and moral responsibilities before they go inside, place their hands on a Bible, and swear to do their duty to their state. We come together in solidarity with all of our brothers and sisters across the state to demand that our elected officials allow love, compassion, justice, and mercy to be their guides, not to bow down to power and money and privilege. If they continue to ignore the needs of real Tennesseans, we're going to be back here on these steps. If they continue to allow suffering and injustice to rule, we'll keep coming back. We'll return until their hateful rhetoric ends. We'll return until the hyper-partisan politics in this state are finished. We'll return until the injustices that have become the hallmark of this General Assembly are finished. So we understand our obligations as citizens of Tennessee. We hope to remind our legislators of their responsibilities to us. So thank you for coming today. We've got fabulous speakers. They've all got important words for us to hear. So let me start off first with musical inspiration. Shantae Kirkwood has a song, Turn Me Round.
All right.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching to the freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. Turn me around, oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I'm gonna keep on
Keep on talking, marching to the freedom land. Ain't gonna let legislature turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let legislatures turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching to the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around. Come on, y'all. Turn me around. No, turn me. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching to the freedom land.
Next, we have Dr. Kevin Riggs, the senior pastor of the Franklin Community Church.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming out. I've been tasked with the responsibility this morning of laying out a moral agenda. You need to get closer to the mic. All right, you have to lower it back down when the next person comes. We got it? All right. Is that better? All right. We are gathered to demand our state legislature adopt a moral agenda for all Tennesseans.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? What is a moral agenda? Well, as a Christian pastor, I find a simple definition of morality in the words of Jesus. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. In my faith tradition, we call these words the golden rule. We believe these words are the backbone of all morality and should be the backbone of all legislation as well. The powerful truth behind these words is found in every world religion. Buddhism, treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. Hinduism, this is the sum of duty. Do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you. Islam, not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself. Judaism, what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. So what would a moral agenda look like? Well, first and foremost, a moral agenda governs all people across our state, not just a selected few. Furthermore, a moral agenda is a people first agenda, not positioning yourself first agenda so that you remain in power. A moral agenda protects those on the margins of our society instead of passing laws that harm them and push them farther into the margins. In the same way a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, so democracy is only as strong as its most silent voices. In other words, when we silence marginalized voices, we squelch democracy. The writer of Proverbs exhorts us, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. A moral agenda sets out to do just that. More specifically, here are a few specific examples of what a moral agenda looks like. A moral agenda protects healthcare by expanding Medicaid and resourcing rural hospitals so they remain open, ensuring emergency health care to those in the farthest corners of our state. A moral agenda understands health care to be a right, not a privilege. A moral agenda acknowledges that reproductive rights are between a woman, her faith leader, and her doctor. A moral agenda works to house those who are experiencing homelessness instead of criminalizing them. A moral agenda understands that housing is a right, not a privilege. A moral agenda welcomes the immigrant and the refugee instead of creating fear of the other. A moral agenda spends public money on public education, resourcing public schools, and increasing teacher pay, instead of financing private schools through vouchers or pseudo-private schools called charter schools. A moral agenda supports our public school teachers instead of letting others belittle and demean them because of the college they attended. A moral agenda protects children in state custody, providing them a bedroom to sleep in instead of an office couch. And a moral agenda takes these children's accusations of abuse seriously. A moral agenda does not sit on $1 billion rainy day fund while people and families are drowning from the ever-present storm. A moral agenda rejects and reverses discriminatory and oppressive bills against our LGBTQ communities. A moral agenda fights for racial equality and fights against white Christian nationalism. A moral agenda takes Governor Lee's breathtaking and heartbreaking report on state execution seriously and starts the process of changing our state constitution to get rid of the death penalty once and for all. A moral agenda admits there are no moral or humane ways to kill another person. The prophet Isaiah, through the prophet Isaiah, God warned us, woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless. A moral agenda can only be carried out by moral leadership that is made up of moral leaders. I am imploring our legislators to ask themselves two basic questions before voting on any bill. First, does this bill pass the golden rule standard set out in all faith traditions? And second, how does this bill affect the most vulnerable among us? Those are the questions that lead to the adoption of a moral agenda. And finally, we the people must demand better from our legislators. We must hold them accountable and put them on notice. We must let them know that we are watching. And so, dear legislators, if you do not adopt a moral agenda, we will take the moral step of voting you out at the next election. Listen to the words of the psalmist in Psalm 82. God presides in the great assembly. How long will you defend the unjust and show partiality for the wicked? Defend the cause of the weak and fatherless. Maintain the rights of the poor and oppressed. Rescue the weak and needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked.
Thank you, Dr. Riggs. Next, we have Gloria Sweetlove, the president of the Tennessee State Conference of the NAACP.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Riggs, for setting out the agenda. To the organizers and all of you that have come from far and near to be here with us. And I want to call out two of my presidents, President Tom Savage from Cookville, President Reverend Rayford Johnson from Johnson City, my state education chair, Mr. James Shaw. But to each of you ladies and gentlemen, program participants and freedom fighters, this morning we've come. From Memphis to Johnson City, from Mountain City to Bolivar, from Clarksville to Chattanooga, and all places in between. We've come to remind our governor and legislators, as you get ready to do the people's business, you've been elected by the people to serve all of the people. We've come to represent the poor and the downtrodden, the least and the left out. The NAACP is committed to stay in the fight for equality and justice by protecting the victories that our foreparents died to secure. For 114 years, we've stood against injustice, and today we still stand against injustice. Today we've come to stand up and speak out for those on the fringes of society, the downtrodden and the discouraged, those who have been put out and shut out of society's mainstream. We've come to represent the children and babies in the foster care system, children who are being housed in DHS offices with caseworkers serving as foster parents. We've come because children and babies who are sleeping on cots in offices where there are no showers, no kitchen facilities for preparing meals, we've come to speak on their behalf. Being denied visitation rights by parents, grandparents, and guardians because of the poor pay, unreasonable demand on the social workers has caused an unheard of deficit in the position. We can't retain workers. We can't hire workers. Yet we got a $2 billion in reserve in a system that fails to pay someone a reasonable wage to take care of children. We've come because we've been living in a state that cares nothing about women's rights. How, if you're a man, can you tell me what I, a woman, what my rights are? When we got hundreds, thousands of rape kits still sitting on the shelf for an average of 18 months without being tested. We come because we're putting all of the women of Tennessee in danger of being assaulted by a criminal that is still walking the streets because the governor and legislators have failed to increase the pay of those running the DNA on the rape kits. We come because you were elected to serve all of the citizens of Tennessee. It doesn't matter in what district you were elected. You are elected to serve constituents from Mountain City and North Memphis, from Crossville and Baltimore. We've come because the healthcare system in this state is dismal. Every citizen has a right, I tell you, a right to affordable, comprehensive, and accessible healthcare. We come because this group of legislators has passed one of the most egregious abortion bills in the nation that doesn't make exception for rape or incest. Yet these same legislators are unwilling to support an increase in salary for workers to handle the caseload for the vast number of foster children in the system. You can't have it both ways. If you want me to have babies, somebody got to take care of them. We come because they think that it's okay to deny parent and grandparent visitation right because there are too few people to handle the caseload. We've come this morning to join our neighbors as we advocate for ensuring the 2021 Learning Loss, Learning Remediation, and Student Acceleration Act, the third grade retention law, does not leave more than 46,000 third graders behind. We've come to call upon every person of goodwill to stand up and oppose any and all legislation that limits the rights and access to full citizenship for every Tennessean. We've come because these legislators that walk these hallowed halls that our tax money pays for us must know that we're watching. We've come because too often those policies that start at the national level have trickled down to state and local politics. This morning we come because we must be vigilant against any and all attempts to roll back progress in our state. We've come because we must make criminal justice reform real. It must be real. Without jobs for those returning, there's no reform. This morning we've come And we ask that you join us as we push forward across this state, not just today, but for the entire year. We must push them. We must show up at every committee meeting. We must show up every time there's a vote to let them know that we are watching. And this government is supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. We go.
Thank you, Ms. Gloria Sweetland. I'd like to invite Andrew Smith to come up to the microphone. Dr. Smith is a tenured faculty member at Tennessee Tech, English and Religious Studies, correct? Thank you. Got a little trouble earlier he's going to talk about.
Good morning. I have been asked to speak for just a few minutes about the crisis in education in Tennessee. But we have way more than just a few minutes of problems as educators, since the very integrity of our vocation has been under attack for the last several years. We have a problem in Tennessee, and it's from pre-K to PhD. We have an educational crisis in Tennessee that is in every county, from Davidson County to DeKalb County, from Sullivan County to Shelby County, from Cannon County to Cumberland County, from Wilson County, and Justin, I'm telling you, in Williamson County. Really, in every county where teachers try to teach and learners just want to learn. Education at its best is liberation. But when you have to worry about bigoted legislation at every turn, how you gonna learn? Educators, not legislators, choose the best curriculum for learners at every level. Imagine for just a moment, if you will, when you were a young child, or being a young child today, wide-eyed and curious and excited to be in school, when the world comes alive with every book that you open. Now imagine being the teacher of those students, being told to spend your entire weekend making a catalog of every book so the snooping censors can scan your list and root out every text that they deem objectionable. Even though our public schools, by their very definition, are places that are expansive and inclusive, hateful forces in our state want to ban and even burn books that lift up the most creative, the most interesting, and the most vulnerable citizens. And then imagine being that teacher and feeling the temptation just to take all those books home to protect them from today's thought police. Now, let us not shy away from the truth about what kind of books we are talking about that are most likely to be banned by busybody groups with liberty in their name who know nothing of real freedom. These are the books about racial justice movements and the history of racial oppression in this country. These are books about affirming LGBTQ families and communities. And these are books about any religion or any culture, thank you, Reverend Riggs, that are not white American fundamentalist Christian, especially books about the ghastly human suffering and harm that share with their readers the plain historical fact that some of the perpetrators of some of the worst harms the planet has ever known have been white people, Americans, and fundamentalist Christians. So the most inspiring authors that I got to read in public school growing up and at public universities getting my training as an educator in literature and now as a public educator teaching at one of our public universities. Authors that changed my life, and I know you have your own list, but let me say a few. Authors like James Baldwin, authors like Toni Morrison, Margaret Atwood, Audre Lorde, and my girl Octavia Butler. She tried to warn us. These authors are ever now more likely to be left off my syllabus, your syllabus, if not outright banned, because it is against the law right here in Tennessee to teach so-called divisive concepts. And students are charged to report on their teachers to the authorities, making it an actual crime just to do my job, which is to teach these great stories and tell the truth that advocates for freedom. For education to truly be liberation, we must resist and reverse all of these hateful legislations. Tennessee students need more books, less bigotry. As vast as the threat to our educators and students seen in the banning and suppressing ideas that lift up the vulnerable, the different, the marginalized, and the historically oppressed, another terrible threat is the effort to codify and normalize the promotion of white Christian nationalism through a statewide effort for more charter schools that come through Governor Lee's desired partnership with Michigan's radically right-wing Hillsdale College. Not only is the agenda of Hillsdale College decidedly skewed to whitewash tragedy and promote vulgar exceptionalism against historical accuracy, the entire charter school endeavor seeks to privatize public education for profit and first to see further disempower educators, parents, communities, and students at the local level. You're going to hear from them a lot about free speech for educators, but it is only the free speech that agrees with their narrative, and folks only want local and community control when it walks lockstep with the governor's ideological agenda. We know, you came here today because you know this needs to stop, and not hateful legislators, but activists and educators and our colleagues in the community. We are going to be the ones to stop this. Now, I know you already had another preacher up here, but I just wanted to tell you today that I'm also trained in that wonderful message of love that we just heard about. And I just stopped by Legislative Plaza this morning to let you know my faith in God compels me to support a pluralistic public space that honors people of every faith and people of no faith. And if faith is ever to enter our public schools, it should be done with integrity. We can learn about indigenous religion, earth-based religion, not just Christianity, but yes, that, and also Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and new religious movements until we have been truly inclusive and honest. My faith in Jesus and in God calls me to love and to celebrate my lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, asexual siblings. My faith in God and Jesus calls me to be more inclusive, not exclusive, more loving, not hateful. My faith compels me to tell the truth about our history, that in the American South, not long ago, there was a slaveholder religion that sinned against humanity, and there was the religion of the slaves and the abolitionists who, like Moses and Jesus before them, fought to liberate humanity. Your God, their God, is not Republican or Democrat and is way bigger than the bigots who want Tennessee to turn into some kind of American Taliban. Enough is enough. It is time for more books, less bigotry, and education for liberation. Thank you.
That was fabulous. Thank you. I'm going to invite Greta McLean to come to the mic. Greta is the founder of Silent No Longer Tennessee. She's a 2-time sexual assault survivor, and she has some words for you.
I want to start by thanking every one of you for taking time out of your day and being here and letting our legislators know that we are watching and that we're not going to take their crap anymore. So thank you. In his June 4th, 1940 speech, Winston Churchill said, "We will ride out this war of tyranny." Obviously, we, the people of Tennessee, we aren't fighting a war with guns and bombs. but we are fighting a war. We are fighting a war against tyranny and brutality, the tyranny of oppression and injustice, and the brutality of prejudice, apathy, and neglect. And last year, we heard many of our elected officials, and especially the governor. His ads were everywhere, talking about how he promised to protect our children. Well, I'm sorry, he apparently forgot that promises are more than words. Promises demand action, and there has been very little, if any, action behind their promises. In fact, a recent state comptroller's report showed that 211 children, the most vulnerable among us, 211 children reported being sexually assaulted and harassed while in state custody, and the state didn't even bother to investigate another 34 cases.
Shame.
Now, there's reasons why this happened. And there's also reasons why we have different safeguards in effect. And I totally got off script, but I'm just going to keep going. We have a General Assembly, Government Oversight Committee for a reason. We have a Secretary of State who has oversight for a reason. Why aren't they doing their jobs? Why don't they care? Because we sure as hell care. We also have the House Criminal Justice Committee decided in their infinite wisdom last year that they were going to kill the Victims' Rights Bill. And what that did is it specified specific protections for people who are victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. They didn't like it, even though the Senate thought it was good enough that the Senate voted unanimously to pass the bill. And there's some of us here, I know, who will remember just a couple of years ago that many of our legislators and our governor refused to meet, refused to listen to us, and refused to protect childhood or victims of childhood sexual abuse, and they definitely refused to hold one of their own accountable. Totally unacceptable. And as a two-time adult survivor,
quick word about being here for session today.
Yeah, you know, it's a good thing to be out for. You got to start a new precedent of being out here, especially in off years. You know, to normalize us speaking out against the things that we want to see, what we want to happen, things that we are not going to take. You know, we fully understand we're in a super minority, but it's something to building momentum.
You know, Charlene and Justin up there.
Hell yes. You know, it's ironic to be out here knowing that Justin can't be because he's got to be ready. You know, on the inside. So that was, yeah, it's Charlene, knowing her for years. You know, I'm very excited to be here to support her and everyone else. You know, who's trying to do the right thing for Nashville and the state of Tennessee. So.
Awesome.
Good
to see you. Happy New Year.
Young, old, gay, straight, or transgender, it doesn't care. And even though some of them that they want to make protecting victims of sexual assault a partisan issue, I'm here to tell you, my rapist never, ever once asked me how I voted. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is a war.
Yes.
This is a war against right and wrong, a war between compassion and cruelty. It's a war that demands that their chosen partisanship and their willingness to fan the flames of stereotypes and misinformation be put aside. We must win this war, and I'm here to tell you we will win this war, because in the words of Winston Churchill, we will not yield, and we will march straight forward. We will be here again and again and again until they decide to get their act together. Because our children deserve better, all Tennesseans deserve better, and because Tennessee People demand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Better. We know we have issues with our healthcare system in Tennessee. I'd like to invite Dr. Amy Gordon-Bono to the stand. She's an internal medicine specialist from Middle Tennessee, going to speak about the state's continued failure to expand Medicaid.
We have a lot of healthcare issues in Tennessee, so I'll be a little bit more expansive. But I'm Dr. Amy Gordon-Bono. I'm a primary care physician who's been practicing in Middle Tennessee for 11 years, and I'm a native Tennessean. Yay! Yeah, man. And I'm one of many physicians who desire better healthcare access and more treatment options for my patients. Our state inhumanely limited abortion care in 2019 with the Human Life Protection Act, a tragic abortion trigger law that fails to protect pregnant patients' lives since the Supreme Court Dobbs decision this past summer. And as politicians attempt to regulate abortion and other very important medical care, politicians with no medical training are commanding us to abdicate our professional authority in patient care. They are taking away the patient's autonomy in making healthcare decisions. These abortion laws criminalize physicians for doing our jobs, providing patient-centered, evidence-based care. Your Tennessee physicians are your healers, not your heretics. We are your caregivers, not your criminals.
Yes.
And this law harms patients, physicians, and the health of every Tennessean. Some of our state leaders have a long history of criminalizing healthcare. Just look at the General Assembly's handling of the HIV crisis. Some have a long history of elevating medical disinformation. Just look at the ongoings of the state capitol during the COVID pandemic. And some politicians have harmed our citizens for almost a decade by not expanding Medicaid. When we expand Medicaid, we give our Tennessee mothers the opportunity for healthier pregnancies even before they are pregnant. By expanding Medicaid, we give our families better healthcare access and brighter futures. Expanding Medicaid helps protect our health during times of economic downturn. After many states expanded Medicaid, becoming unemployed was less of a risk factor for becoming uninsured in those states. Expanding Medicaid can create more mental health treatment resources we desperately need now, especially after the last few years. Some studies indicate that Medicaid expansion reduced all-cause mortality among non-elderly adults. Or more simply, failing to expand Medicaid at this moment in time condemns every Tennessean to poor health outcomes and even death. Sadly, death that is preventable death. Medicaid expansion is a lifeline to adequate preventive and acute care for our low-income, hardworking Tennesseans. When we do not commit to expanding Medicaid, we do commit more of our citizens to medical bankruptcy, and we set our rural communities up for healthcare system failure. And low-income people continue to suffer disproportionately. In a state where your doctors are criminal for doing their jobs, saving lives. In a state where our children spend cold nights sleeping on the floors of government office buildings. And in a state where the glory of guns and the extreme views of a few overcome the will of the majority, we are here. Moms are here demanding action. We demand change and better policy. We demand better leadership from those holding elected office. And we dare you to be as brave as your people are here today. Take a listen to your people gathered here demanding reproductive autonomy, Medicaid expansion, and better health care in Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bono. All right, and now in a state where we have lost our right to have a safe, medical controlled abortion under the care of a physician, I'd like to invite Dr. Katrina Green, an emergency physician here in Nashville, to talk to us.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. My name is Katrina Green, and I'm an emergency physician here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today, I'm here to speak up for reproductive health care in our state. When the Dobbs decision was announced and our state's abortion trigger ban went into place, many physicians across the state worried about our ability to provide health care to our pregnant patients. This is because the Tennessee trigger ban, otherwise known as the Human Life Protection Act, has no exceptions for the life or health of the pregnant person. Now we have seen our worries come to fruition. The women and pregnant people of Tennessee have already been impacted by this heartless abortion ban that does not allow doctors to treat their patients in a safe, respectful, and timely manner. Because of the abortion ban, women have waited hours for treatment of ectopic pregnancy, so hospitals, one right here in Nashville, could consult with lawyers to ensure their doctors wouldn't be criminally penalized and taken away for treating a potentially fatal condition. Women are being sent hours away to states like North Carolina and Georgia to give them life-saving health care and prevent their death from pregnancy. Women with cancer are traveling out of state for abortion so they can start chemotherapy. Women who have been told their fetus has a fatal anomaly are crossing state lines to end their pregnancy so they aren't forced to bring babies into this world who will only suffer. We have heard our governor say over and over again that he thinks this bill is good as it stands. Well, Governor Bill Lee is apparently okay with the women of Tennessee being treated as second-class citizens.
Come on.
He is okay with forced birth, even if the fetus threatens the lives of the pregnant people. Even if the potential life growing has no hope of living outside the womb. Even if the pregnancy is the product of rape. And he's okay with this law as written. Bill Lee is saying that he's okay with doctors going to jail for taking care of our patients. The longer the Tennessee legislature allows the Human Life Protection Act to stand as it is, the more hardships everyday Tennesseans will face as a result. From women delaying or choosing not to have babies as a result, delays in healthcare for people experiencing pregnancy complications, physicians choosing not to train in a state where they cannot provide or receive reproductive health care, physicians leaving the state and furthering our healthcare provider shortage, worsening maternal mortality, poverty, and increasing numbers of children being sent to our failing Department of Children's Services. These repercussions of the Tennessee abortion ban were either not thought out or, even worse, completely ignored by the legislators, who listened to extreme lobbyists instead of the wishes of the majority of their constituents when they passed the law. A law we now know most of them didn't read or even understand fully before they passed it. Recently, allergies. It's not COVID, I promise. Recently, there have been several news stories featuring Tennessee lawmakers stating they plan to change the abortion ban to allow exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother, and finally get rid of the affirmative defense that would criminalize my fellow physicians and myself. While I applaud these politicians for finally seeing the error of their ways, I ask them, who will provide these abortions while it remains illegal in our state? Who's going to provide this health care? And what about the women who are told late in their pregnancies that their fetuses that they carry have anomalies incompatible with life? I have not heard one peep about that. Will they be forced to carry those pregnancies to term in Tennessee? There are many reasons why someone would seek an abortion. And let me tell you, none of those reasons are the business of the government. The decision to have an abortion should remain between the pregnant person, their family, and their doctor, period. So I stand here with all of you today, calling on the 113th General Assembly of Tennessee, which starts today, asking them to completely repeal the abortion ban. because we know exceptions are not good enough. Trust women and pregnant people to know what is best for their bodies. Trust doctors to know how to care for our patients. Keep reproductive healthcare decisions private and out of the hands of the government. Stop legislating medical procedures and instead work to make lives better for Tennesseans so we feel safe and comfortable becoming pregnant and having children in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green. I'd like to invite Kim Spoon to the mic. She helped us get to Nashville on the bus. Thank you, Indivisible. She's a retired social worker. Also has words for you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Because I've got something important to say. I want you to hear me. I want them to hear me. This is our house. And we will begin showing up weekly. And they will hear what we have to say. I've been a social worker in this state for over 35 years. And I could tell you so much. But I'm going to keep it to just a few things. One of them is TANF. That is sent to us by the federal government. That stands for Temporary Aid to Needy Families. And by God, we've got needy families in Tennessee. Governor Bill Lee has stolen the federal funds intended for people in this state. He is sitting on $2 billion in his rainy day fund. We've literally had flooding.
That's right.
How much more is it going to rain? We've had a pandemic. Other states that have TANF money in reserves, they sent out to TANF recipients single checks of $3,000 and $5,000 to help them keep the lights on and to keep a roof over their heads.
Let's go.
What did Bill Lee do? He couldn't even get the pandemic EBT cards out.
Come on.
He asked families in this state to fill out another application while they're starving.
Come on.
I don't want to hear him say he's a Christian. I don't want to hear these guys over here say they're Christians. I don't want to see Bible verses posted on social media anymore. These guys are fake Christians.
Come on. Come on. Tell it.
If you were a Christian, you would actually give a damn. You would have called a special session for the children living in state offices.
Come on.
He has known this has been going on, reaching crisis level for the last year, and chose to ignore it. Just like he does the children with nowhere to go. We don't have available foster cares in this state. A state that is demanding forced birth. How are you going to force people to have a baby when you've got babies in state offices that nobody wants?
Come on.
It's the sad but true fact.
Tell the truth.
Governor Lee took that TANF money and gave millions to the Tim Tebow Foundation in Texas.
Come on.
He gave $25 million of that money to United Way for them to decide who it goes to. We have needy people all around us. It's like cruelty is the point.
Come on.
They got a mouthful of scripture and a heart full of hate.
Come on.
I'm sick of it.
Come on.
I am so sick of it. The social workers in this state are carrying a heavy burden.
They've got their own mental health problems from doing this job. Their families are falling apart themselves because they're sleeping overnight in their offices with children. Children that were in DCS offices for Thanksgiving and Christmas. While the governor said, we're so blessed at the holiday in his fancy governor's mansion.
Come on!
When he's busy signing a proclamation for a day of prayer.
Come on!
The prayer is not working. It's going to take action.
Come on!
If the people of this state don't start showing it, y'all are the change makers. Y'all are change makers. You took time out of your day to stand up, show up, and speak up. Now we've got to bring more. We've got to hold their feet to the fire. They don't have a conscience. They're not going to one day say, oh, we should do right. We've got to force them to make the right decision. Christians don't hate trans folks. Christians don't hate on LGBTQ kids. They are causing problems, mental health problems, by the talk and the legislation they're trying to pass. If they cared about these kids, they wouldn't be passing laws against them. They need to learn to love people for who they are. Isn't that what Christ taught?
Come on!
If Christ came here today, I'm sorry. They'd spit on him, call him a socialist, and lock him up.
Oh, yeah.
The TANF money that's sitting in reserve. I got to take a minute, y'all. This makes me angry. It's heating up out here, and it's January. It's heating up at the People's House.
That's right.
Y'all, you've got to call. You've got to email. You've got to talk to your friends and family. We've got to get folks out here. This state, this government is in a dysfunctional mess. They passed a law against abortion, and we have a doctor, Senator Richard Briggs, who didn't read the bill. He's a doctor, and he passed a bill that is killing women. Men do not get to tell women what we do with our body. We are not second-class citizens. Well, we are. Right here in Tennessee, we are. I got one quick fact to tell you about my years of being a social worker and a 13-year-old girl that got raped. She wanted an abortion so bad, but her parents, they didn't believe in abortion. That was so bad. She said, I cannot birth this rapist baby and look at this baby every single day and be reminded of what happened to me. They insisted she had the baby, so guess what? Their daughter committed suicide. They don't have a baby now, and they don't have their daughter. You don't force your beliefs and your decisions on somebody else's body. You don't. Everybody, every community is being marginalized. Black, trans, LGBTQ, poor folks. We're sixth in the nation for diabetes-related death. Does this sound like a state that cares about people? Wouldn't Christians expand Medicaid? Yeah. Wouldn't Christians want everybody to have health care? Yeah. There are people that live in Ducktown, Tennessee, in Jellicoe, Tennessee, that have to go an hour and a half to get to a walk-in clinic. Tell me again you care about Tennessee. Governor Lee, on his commercials, lied like a dog, like a fake Christian, that he had done so much. The man has not done shit. I'm tired. And when people, if they don't start standing up, it's going to be bad for this state. We're already, let's see, we're in the top 5 for children living in poverty that are under age 4. We've got one of the highest infant mortality rates, one of the highest maternal mortality rates. Does that sound like a state that cares about their people? There are so many wonderful things the state could be doing. with that money. Not only the rainy day money, but because these bozos don't know how to project a budget, we've got billions in reserve. Why hasn't he given Margie Quinn the money she's asking for DCS? Not only are children living in DCS offices, there are children living in nightmare situations without a social worker to come and investigate. There's over 500 vacancies across this state in the Department of Children's Services. Do not tell me that the governor cares about children. I know I'm going to have to wrap it up. I could say a lot more. I'm sure you could tell. I'm going to wrap it up so that we can at least get in to see some of the good trouble folks that got elected. I'm so happy to see folks that once were arrested on these steps are now walking across through here to go to work. We've got some good ones in there, and we've got to support them. We've got to show up when they try to get the bills passed. We've got to speak up. Please, if everybody here would talk to your friends and your families and your neighbors, if we could do this continually and take turns doing it, because I know you can't do it every day, but we have got to show up because this is our house. We pay them. Tell me whose house? Our house. Whose house? Our house. Don't forget it. Thank you, Kim. I want to invite Moth to come to the mic.
Hello, my friends. As you can see, all the stress in the state is making my hair fall out. I'll do my very best, though. My beautiful Tennessee, hi, hello. I am your girl. I was born in a place called Selmer, Tennessee, and I came out blue. Well, technically, I came out at 14, but I was blue because of the lack of oxygen, and I'm blue still today. I grew up in a place that was beautiful and verdant and green, a place called Pickwick Dam, and a place called Frog Hollow, the lowest place in Pickwick. I lived with my tiny community of old people, folks with freckles, and farmers. I moved to Memphis for art college because I didn't see any destiny for myself in that small town where I was so in danger. My father, who was a contractor, always used to tell me something that made me feel so enraged. He kept saying every day over breakfast, "Son, you have to bloom where you're planted." And it would make me so mad for years and years. How am I supposed to bloom when there's no soil? How am I supposed to bloom when there's no water? How am I supposed to bloom when you are standing in front of all the sunshine? I am a queer child that was born into this state. I have known that I am gay since I was 2 or 3 years old, watching the Green Power Ranger on TV and being so in love with him. Rest in peace. My story is not the story of anybody else's. My story is a Tennessee story, and it's a story that the state should be proud of. I'm a young person who went to Pickwick Southside Elementary, and I was beaten and slugged. I was choked out underneath bleachers and at football games. When I was in high school in Hardin County, I was chased by a group of boys in a truck holding bats, simply for being feminine, for loving Pokemon, for being a little swishy, and for being very gregarious and kind. No child growing up in Tennessee deserves to go through the things that I went through at the hands of the people in this state, people who are supposed to be my neighbors, people who are supposed to be my family, my caretakers. I see all of you here, and you know the truth. You know the truth. That Tennessee is a state that is filled with neighbors. Tennessee is a state that is filled with incredible, loving people. We're not just a state filled. We are not just a state filled with white Christian folk, though those people are lovely and important as well. We are a state that truly lives up to the phrase, the spice of life. We are diverse and powerful. We represent people that come from all over. Hey, we got sweet tea. We got sunshine, snow, and rain in the